Hello, everybody. A little bit of housekeeping before we get this episode started. After this episode, we're going to take a 1 week break for the American Independence holiday weekend. So we will be back on July 14th with a new episode, not July 7th. In the meantime, hit us up with emails about the end of this episode when we talk about some controller stuff. We had some questions for everybody. And as a side note, we also forgot to mention that in July, we will also be bringing back Subspace Transmissions, the Star Trek subpod, and we're going to be watching the original series time travel episode, All Our Yesterdays, one of the best Spock episodes out there, and talking about that one. So if you want to listen along after having watched it, so you can, listen to what we think and or email in your opinions ahead of time, go ahead and get started on that before middle of July. Thanks, everyone. Here's the episode. Will Windows 11 be as wise? Stay tuned.
You are very brave if you upgrade to Windows 11.
Is it open already? Isn't it just in beta still?
There's like a preview build or something out there. But like even after it comes out, you'd be crazy to upgrade. Like, why would
Oh no, wait for, several builds.
Yeah.
Your microphone is back to normal. Let me turn you back down there, buddy.
Oh, I have my input turned way up so I can turn myself down.
No, it's fine. I can turn you down. Leave it where it is. Don't touch anything.
Okay.
Hands off the microphone button.
Not touching any of the buttons. Maybe it's because I installed a new mouse.
Oh, we get to talk about more peripherals. Should I lead in with it, Michael?
I think so.
Are we committing to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the Carb Locker, episode 1 of the sub pod for We Were Gamers about everything baked and fried. You got Michael.
Nom 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 nom.
Andy, and we're here to. Hey, how's it going, JJ?
What? Oh, hello. I guess I'm also here. Apparently, I stumbled onto the wrong podcast. I was about to leave. Like I showed up to the wrong place.
We were noshing on carbs. Somehow came up with the name Carb Locker. Oh no, what was it?
It was Car Blocker. We were talking about bollards, and Andy couldn't come up with the name, and so he threw out Car Blocker, and I heard it as Carb Locker.
And then we thought that would be a great sub pod about bread.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That does sound like a good pod about bread. I would listen.
Yeah. Welcome to 266 We Were Gamers. For all the people that have been waiting, yes, we will do controllers this episode. Because I know there's at least 4 people that are very irked that we haven't finished controllers part 2.
Uh-oh.
Gosh. Didn't know
I'm one of the 4,
fans.
so really it's only 3.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, bollards, JJ. They have a lot of bollards at Disneyland.
Shocker of the century.
Yeah.
Disneyland implements ways to control cars.
Yeah, we were trying to find a bridge, etc. Hey, Disneyland's it was a little weird going there with the world being back to normal. Hey guys, now you can see me.
Hi.
It was strange, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird for it to be back, but not quite all the way back. So we're like right off the bat, JJ, they're not running the trams right now. So you park in the parking structure and then you have to walk along the tram route to get to the park.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it is a little off-putting and strange. We had fun though. I think keeping yourself comfortable with like, I'm going to wear my mask because I feel uncomfortable right now. And then staying away from crowds was enough for me. I didn't feel entirely unsafe, especially, having a superpower of a vaccine. So
And there's still capacity limited, so there weren't enough people to ever make it feel really crowded unless you were doing one of a couple of different certain things.
Yeah. I think it was obvious which areas to avoid. And
Yes. Although we charged headlong into one of those areas.
yeah, I wanted to talk about that on this
Yeah.
podcast because I experienced Rise of the Resistance for the first time, but that's nothing new. A lot of people have been on that before, including multiple members of the extended family of this podcast. And I understand now why people shouldn't ruin the little tiny surprise that's in there if you don't go on YouTube and watch the video or whatever of the ride. But I think we're both here to hear about the Avengers campus.
Yeah, so we I guess before we even left home for the park, they open up during the day, they open up 2 rounds of basically a lottery for trying to get a boarding group for the new ride,
Same
Web
policy
Slingers.
as Rise of Resistance.
Same
They
policy as
started-
Rise. Except they do it twice a day now instead of just once. And so we were lucky enough to get a boarding group in the 7 a.m. slot. So we already knew before we left for the park that we were going to be able to get on the ride, provided it didn't break down.
Okay.
Which was good. They'd had some issues opening weekend with wait times and crowd control, but they had worked everything out, fortunately, by this past weekend. So we got there and we did just a walkthrough of the Avengers campus, which was great. Took a lot of pictures. Happened to be we had really good timing with things all day long. So we were wandering through taking pictures on our first pass and just happened to be standing there when 2 of the Dora Milaje came out and did their 20-minute bit that was recruiting everyone to be a Dora Milaje trainee.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
that was
more than
great.
they
So there
used
was
to do.
Yeah, for
They've
sure.
had
Had
them around for a while when they introduced Black Panther to the park, but they used
Just
to be
walking
over in
through.
like Hollywoodland, and they do like the Spear Show. I don't know the name for it, so right, We Were Gamers. It's a podcast that We Were Gamers. If you know the name of the like dancing spear show thing that they do, but it's different now, right? Like they're doing more with a lot of the things they had before.
Yeah, they definitely are. That was actually one of 2 shows that we caught on the day. There's an Avengers show where Taskmaster tries to break into Avengers headquarters and is fended off by
What?
Black Widow and Black Panther.
Okay, hold on. I gotta look up which Taskmaster they used. What colors
there's like
did they use?
15
I
Taskmasters.
think they used the movie one, the upcoming Black Widow movie one.
Okay.
Lame.
Man, missed opportunity. Purple
I wanted-
Taskmaster.
Purple Taskmaster, bright orange cape, skeleton
Yes.
face. Where's he at? Marvel versus
that would have been
3
great.
Taskmaster. Put
So
him
they
in the
used-
park.
They used the one with the like all black with the helmet and like the skull,
Yeah, and the shield.
skull face and stuff. Oh,
Yeah, okay.
man.
Of course they did though.
Of
Right?
course.
Obviously.
Got to do that
yeah.
product tie-in.
Of course they did. Yeah. Oh man, a white caped one. I forgot about the white cape. Taskmaster. Oh man. There's so many good versions of Taskmaster. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So what else did we get to do? We also got to eat at Pim's Test Kitchen,
With
which
the
I think
weird
had been
oversized chicken on a tiny bun.
Yeah, so it had made the news, I think, most recently for the $100 sandwich, which
Right.
was kind of a misleading headline because it was a $100 sandwich that fed up to 8 people. So when you do the math, it's actually cheaper for 8 people, it's cheaper than the single serving sandwich.
As of now, it's kind of hard to go to Disneyland with 8 people.
Right, yes. But the food,
it
the
makes
food was
sense.
fun.
Nice.
I liked that my silverware were all the length of my thumb, so I was eating with a tiny little fork and a tiny little spoon.
Oh,
So
that's
is that
horrible.
like the goof? Is the everything at
Yeah,
this place like either gigantic or way too small based
yeah.
on how it should be?
Everything is outsized one way or the other.
Yeah, so like the bread is this big, but the chicken
Your
underneath the
chicken
bread is
cutlet.
like the size of your head. You know, it's
Okay.
everything's kind of like that, or it's like a
That's a
very
goof.
colorful plate with a lot of different stuff on it.
Yeah, my wife's sandwich came with tater tots, and I kind of wished that it had been one giant tater tot, even though I know that that wouldn't have cooked properly.
Yeah, the middle is gonna be
It would
not
be a
what you want
greasy,
there.
soggy, no gross, half
Yeah,
frozen
basically.
mess.
No,
That's not what
and
you
you know
want.
that thing was gonna be fried, and that means there's a lot of oil there. That's
Yeah,
not gonna be good.
exactly.
I know it's like impossible for you to describe this without a map, and that's not what I'm going for really. But how is it kind of like organized? Because some of the stuff they have in there is like the shawarma stand and like jokes from the movies, but it's also supposed to be like a campus or quote unquote like the Avengers campus. So how is it kind of?
Yeah, so we walked in from the side that faces, it almost faces the waterfall that's in California Adventure.
Yeah. Okay, so
And so
back where the
where the food festival
theater,
usually is.
well, but so like where the theater used to be, the Bugs Land Theater.
Yes, yeah, right there where the Bugs Land Theater used to be. So we entered from that side, and you come like one of the first things you see is a big spray painted mural by Miles Morales.
Oh, cool.
And they had, as we walked in, they had Spider-Man there at a photo stop for people
Which
to
one?
take pictures in front of him.
Oh, sure, okay,
Not
Peter,
Miles.
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker. Yeah.
right.
And then you keep walking in, and you see the shop for Webb.
Okay. Webb is
Webb-
like a short for Webb Institute or whatever,
Yeah, it's the Webb Institute.
which is funny because that's a play on an actual Webb Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically like a think tank for young developers to
I see.
Yeah.
build
WEBB
build
is
out their
the
build out their
engineering school.
ideas.
Cool. Right on. So it is like a school campus more
Yeah, a little bit.
than like hodgepodge stuff. Nice.
Yeah, so it's laid out well. The big draw right now is, of course, the Web Slingers ride, which I thought was great. So,
Okay.
JJ, the whole thing, I explained this to Andy a little bit, the whole thing works on motion capture. So, you are sitting in a car that holds 8 people. The car is the Web Slinger that holds 8 people, 4 on each side. And you ride through it arcade style, like the Toy Story Midway Mania ride.
Okay, you're really pulling the stuff that I know a lot about there, for sure.
Astro Blast.
Definitely know what that is.
Yeah, so-
okay. So like it's one of those rides where there's like a car, right? And there's like 4 people in the car, and you can turn it.
It's the orientation's fixed, so you can't turn it
Okay,
yourself.
so the car turns itself.
Right.
You shoot at stuff on the screen.
Yeah,
Got
you
it.
shoot at stuff on the screen, except this one, instead of having a blaster, the motion capture picks up your arms, and you go through the ride doing the Spider-Man shooting webs motion.
So you just have to kind of like thrust your arm in and out like you're
Exactly.
Spider-Man.
So you get your arm workout in for the day. And it's surprisingly
How
accurate.
good is this? Yeah.
It is very accurate, actually.
So
Does it matter more that you throw your arms straight out, like you could be punching, or is like the flicking motion? What is the motion that it's picking up?
I think it's so they
gotta be
show you
forward motion of hands.
they show you a little stick figure version of yourself on the screen when you first sit down, so you can see what it's picking up, and it basically has dots for each of your joints. So your fist is a dot, your elbow is a dot, your shoulder is a dot.
So it's looking for this.
And so yeah,
like,
it's
in and out,
basically picking up on your hand, your fist.
moving forward, I imagine, or
Yes.
up or something. Okay.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool because I worked this is like, work, big air quotes, in the idea of computer vision near the end of my time in college, and it was impossible. I decided I didn't want to work in that field anymore because it was impossible.
Pretty hard.
And like the algorithm that we developed in one semester all we were trying to do was find the mouth in a picture.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It only worked on women, and it only worked on white women.
Oh,
Dear.
We accidentally developed a racist algorithm that is also gendered only for finding women's mouths. Yeah.
Oh, JJ. I don't know about mentioning that on live.
It's hard. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. So obviously Disney is like, also this was like 15 years ago. So,
Yeah.
Well, but
clearly
even like the
technology
professional
has moved.
companies, you hear about Apple's struggles with like face unlock, working
yeah.
with
It's
different
serious.
people and different skin tones and stuff.
Stuff
like
is
that.
hard, man. And like voice stuff that only works for people with certain kinds of accents and not others. And it's very difficult. So I'm very impressed that Disney was able to do a ride like this, because then now you were introducing a whole bunch of other factors, right? The car is moving. There's weird lighting conditions. There's, all people wearing all sorts of weird clothes and God knows what princess outfits and whatever sparkly t-shirts that reflect light and all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Into the ride.
They didn't make it impossible on themselves. So the car is stationary every time you're shooting at the screen, and then it moves in between screens.
Oh God, yeah. If it was actually in motion while the camera is tracking you, the camera would have to be bolted to the car. I don't know how else it would be done.
My guess is there's some sort of infrared laser using technology there, so you don't have to worry about as much color-wise.
Could be. They do like ultraviolet or something. I know. Didn't the Connect use like infrared or something like that?
Yeah, I think that iPhone does too. It has like a separate. It doesn't use your camera for face unlock. It uses something else. As far as
I believe it.
Because when I had my phone screen repaired for the glitch where it was like it had like lines down the screen or whatever, all of a sudden they took that screen off, and the guy had to like run a test where he like attached this magnetic strip over each part of the thing, and he put it on one side. I was like, what are you testing over there? He's like, that's the face sensor. It's a whole separate thing just for face
detection. It's like buried under the screen.
Yeah. So it's not a camera because it just has glass over it and it's black, but like there's some sort of.
It could be ultrasonic too. There's a lot of different ones.
I have no idea what they're using.
That's still cool though. I want to try that. I mean, I haven't been to Disneyland in forever, so I haven't seen any of the Star Wars stuff. I haven't seen this, obviously. So it would be cool to go. But also, I'm not really rushing. Sounds like Disneyland has been crazy. So maybe, give it another year to cool down or something and all.
Yeah, the nice thing about going when we did is that even though things can be back at full capacity, Disney is still understaffed. So they're still imposing capacity limits on the crowds because they don't have the manpower to handle that many people.
You can kind of feel the ship groaning a little bit with all the people there.
Like the lines are crazy for stuff?
For some stuff, but not like lines for rides or anything like that. In fact, those lines are relatively manageable. I've heard some people say they had problems, but we didn't. Micheal, I don't know if you noticed it with like some of the food lines were kind of like out of control.
Yeah, we noticed that too. And I think it's because two things going on. One is that not everywhere is open. Right. And some places are doing mobile order only.
Yeah, that's like.
And so if you're trying to just like walk around and you want to grab food somewhere, you only have so many options of places that you can go that are taking walk-up orders.
And unlike some places that I've seen, they don't seem to turn it off when they get behind. So like at certain points, we were looking at mobile ordering at places at noon, and it was like 4:00 pickup. It's like you should probably turn off your orders for a little while and just like chill and catch up. And
that's definitely a case of like, that those are the kinds of jobs they let go immediately, right? That they're like, oh no, we have like one we have one shift of these people today, and we'll hire more, but like every
single employee on every single ride that I could find it looked like there were too many people. You were like, what? They have like
Training.
3. Yeah, because everyone has a trainee. Every single
Exactly.
person has a trainee.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like
They're
they
staffing up.
asked to
They'll be
check
back
my
to full
daughter's.
soon.
Yeah, they asked to check my daughter's height, and over comes the guy that said it, and over comes another person behind them. They
'cause
told us to get in the cart.
We found a kid. We got to check him. Okay, good. This will be great. Get the trainee. Okay. Come over here. Watch the. Yeah. This is how we do it. Okay, look. Yeah.
And it happened on multiple rides. So like on Star Tours, there comes the guy, there comes the trainee, measure the kid.
Yeah.
On the next Star Wars ride, there comes the guy, there comes the trainee, measure the kid. It's like
Your kid probably not just thinks it's normal. This is just how it works when you're on the edge. They just
Yeah.
everyone always checks you.
Yeah.
And
it's
little
funny.
did they know, I've never seen a child be measured at Disneyland once in like
Oh,
10 years.
It's happened before to me. Yeah, it's happened before. Not too well. I mean, it happened to me, but it's happened.
I don't know.
before.
When I was a kid, if I ever got measured, I don't even remember. But
Yeah.
who knows, it was so long ago.
But overall, they were still jovial employees. Like
Yeah.
I think people are in general happy to be working again. So, I was happy. We can end on this one, but I was happy to take some time and build one of these bad boys. It's for the
Andrew
audio
is-
portion of the podcast. It's really good.
Yeah, this is an all audio podcast.
Audio
Andrew.
podcast. So I ended up building one of those Savi's lightsabers, which is the $200 and whatever experience that you go in. That now Michael has seen and I have done, and I ordered some extra parts from Florida. Shh.
Is this illegal? Who cares?
No. It's not illegal. Florida was
okay.
selling because they were open so early. They were using the extra pieces to sell scrap, which they had stopped doing for a long time because people were buying so much of it and selling it online. And
Right, because people were probably just buying all the pieces and not doing the thing at Disneyland.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so now I think Disneyland also is selling the scrap, but to just kind of change out a few pieces of it. And it was a cool thing. I'm glad I did it with my wife, because if I had done it alone, it would have been like, all right, that was fun. But I felt like I was missing something versus like somebody coming in with me and doing it with me. Like I didn't think I was.
Because of the way that it's kind of a ceremony.
Yeah. And like it would be like corny and cheesy, but like when you're doing it with somebody else, and it could be anybody, you can bring whoever you want, but like if you're doing it with somebody else, at least you kind of like when they talk about the red Kyber crystal and the room lights turn red, like you kind of like, it's kind of funny.
Theatrics.
Yeah, it's good theatrics, and like you can appreciate it, and like if you have somebody there with you, it's kind of fun. I also snagged this thing while I was there because I couldn't help myself.
This looks like a case for this lightsaber,
This
or
is
is
a
this
case,
a?
this is a case
For the hilt.
for a different lightsaber.
Aha.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the
That's-
lightsaber he's holding up is Luke's lightsaber.
That's
from-
Luke's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi.
And this
that
is a
would-
case built for that, or just a
That is
case built for a lightsaber?
It's a case that comes with it. It's pretty cool, and you can use the blades from the Savi's ones to plug into that, and it'll also work as a lightsaber too. So I finally, if they held me away from Disneyland so long, I made bad decisions, is what I'm saying.
You know, if you enjoyed it, it was worth it, right?
Yep.
I definitely enjoy it. It's weird how it becomes a thing that like I thought I was gonna get it and like put it on the shelf, right? I got the little stand for it so it'll lay like this, and you can just stare at it and do the thing, right?
He's holding it at a rakish angle.
Thank you. You're the greatest narrator.
I
love
hate
it.
I hate listening to podcasts where clearly the hosts are all together talking to each other, and they're like, "What do you think about this?" And it's like no description whatsoever of what they're talking about. That frustrates me as a listener.
No cap,
So
dude.
I'm going to do it.
I was not being sarcastic.
I'm just telling you why I'm literally
I
explaining everything you're doing,
I
because it bothers
sincerely
me.
appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. It
Be the
bothers me.
change you
So
wanna
now I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
But it's weird. What I was gonna say is it's weird how much I look at it and like then I just want to hold it. You know, it's not like a Lego you put on the shelf and you're like, cool, I'm never gonna touch that because it'll break.
He points at the Lego.
I pointed at the Lego. I was actually pointing. I was kind of, you're up here, so I was pointing up.
Yeah, whichever way it is. Yeah. Anyway, the Lego on my shelf behind me here.
nothing wrong with putting a Lego on the shelf and not playing with it, because that especially will break, right? Like you're gonna get it down.
Also,
You'll be
it's
like,
heavy.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing's not light, but it's also not like Millennium Falcon heavy. But it's weird in the first couple days of having it where I'm like, I want to look at it. No, actually, I want to just hold on to it. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Cool.
That was my.
No, yeah.
It's not.
Sounds
an
like
ad.
you had an awesome time, and that's what's
Yeah, exactly. So Disneyland, yeah, not as much of a panic attack as I expected it to be.
Well, from one sort of gadget to another sort of gadget, Michael.
Yes.
What did you have you done with your gadgets recently?
He's saying, what's up with the peripherals? My joke was going to be, that's my new peripheral, because then I was going to show you my belt clip that I got for it. But JJ took the transition in a different direction.
Yeah, I have a new mouse, which is basically just a slight upgrade on my old mouse.
Same brand?
Yeah, it's just the next one in the line. So I had a Death Adder Chroma by Razer that lasted me 7 years, which I think is pretty good for a gaming mouse.
I'm trying to figure out. I currently am using a Razer Death Adder.
So I switched to.
I don't know when I bought it.
This is a Logitech G502 that I bought with the new computer. And before that, I had the Logitech Game X or something like that you could put weights in. This also you can put weights in. I don't know why. A lot of people like a light mouse, and I hate it. I want the mouse to be as heavy as possible.
To have some weight, yeah.
That's...
I know.
Maybe that's
it's
why...
exactly the opposite.
Maybe that's why you switched to using a controller, because when you're doing shooters, you'd want a fast mouse, right?
I
would think that with RTSs too.
This is for the controller discussion later. I still play Halo with this mouse, and I quite like it.
Halo is a slow shooter though, compared with like Call of Duty.
But there's something else that got me to switch to controller on Call of Duty. We'll talk about it in the controllers section. I want to hear why you bought a new Death Adder.
Yes,
please. Also,
tell us.
my Gamer X Logitech lasted 13 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
I still have it. It's in a box. It's up.
Okay, I just checked
there.
This Razer mouse that I'm using. I bought in 2012.
But so yours is getting up there in age too.
And it seems to still be okay.
Hold on, let me see the thumb pad. Have you worn through it?
No, it's gross though.
So like my Geo 502 has like this like anti-slip thumb pad right here.
Oh, see, mine doesn't have that. It's like slick.
Yeah,
plastic there. And
so this is all
the buttons are kind of crusty.
Oh, so this is like anti-slip, and then the buttons are here, and this is all one molded piece. On the Gamer X or what GX laser that I used to have, there was a cap that you could like snap over this thing, and it would make the mouse bigger or smaller based on your hand. So I went through 2 of those caps and wore my thumb all the way through them in the 13 years I had that mouse.
That's
impressive.
Yeah, well, it just is what it is. I mean, they wear out. I still have it. It still works, but it wasn't like super comfortable to use anymore. So I switched to this one. Death Adder number 2. Why?
The driving reason was that the left mouse button had started to go. So you'd click it once and it would click twice, or it wouldn't register.
You can't do that.
And it just got to be. Yeah, my wife uses the computer for work most days.
Oh, no.
So for her in particular, it was
right out.
Just
right out.
So it was time. It was time for it to go.
It's dead.
Yeah,
I kept it because I might pull it apart just to take a look at the guts of it.
Sure.
Just because that kind of thing fascinates me. Sure. But other than that, yeah, it's
you'll be impressed at how small those little lasers are.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
They're minuscule. They're barely lasers at all.
It's like a diode. It's like one tiny little light bulb. That's
it. And then you're like, wait a minute, you can make it go bigger and smaller based on these little buttons here? Like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that was your Prime Day thing, right?
Yeah, so I got that, and I snagged myself a copy of Link's Awakening.
Oh, such a good
Nice.
game, man.
Yeah.
Am I the only one here who played that Nintendo Switch one?
The Switch version, yeah. I burned a hole in
Okay.
the original Game Boy version back
I was
in the
going to say,
day.
I think you two had played the Game Boy one
Yeah.
back in the day. That was the difference. I never
Both the
had.
original and the colorized one.
Cool.
I'm
That's
trying to-
you're gonna like that game, dude. It's so good. I found eventually that I didn't want to learn some of the dumb puzzles, like the fetch quest, give things to people across the island thing.
The trading quest. Yeah.
I just looked it up.
Don't you need
Didn't
to do the
care.
trading quest though?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
In this game,
should do it.
it's unfortunately, yeah.
You
Yeah, I
should
don't
do
think-
it.
I don't think you can get away with not doing it.
I think you can
Trying to think.
technically get to the end. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, you should be doing it. And the point is looking up when and who to go to.
Oh yeah, because one of
Made
them
it
has to be
feasible to
day
me.
and night, and
Yeah, there's a bunch of nonsense in there. It's just like, oh, okay, other side of the entire world map, and also nighttime. And in this hut, there's a guy. Give him this random thing for no reason that you would know.
And he'll give
okay.
you a different random thing
Yeah, and
to
then
take to
that.
another guy.
Yeah, exactly. Some other random person, they decided they need a watering can for no reason. Okay, and it's just like it's random stuff like that the entire way through.
nice,
That's awesome though.
nice. Well, I pulled the trigger on Prime Day. I think I sent a text of the. There you go, JJ. Narrate.
All right, so he's holding up a box that says Xbox Elite, and I can't read any of the text below it. but I
Series
assume
2.
It's a big controller box though.
Yeah, Series 2. So I Prime Dayed another. I think they're premium controllers, right? That would be count as a
Yes.
premium controller.
Yes, that's an expensive
sure.
controller, dude. It's like $150.
Yeah, I think it's 179 retail, and I got somebody to Prime Day match something else lower than that. I don't remember.
I was gonna say, I think these days, like first party console controllers are like between $60 and $70 or something.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're going roughly double. That's extremely premium in my mind.
I don't find it to be extremely premium. I think there's like 2 tiers above.
Literally half.
Okay.
If I can get a good first party controller for half the price, that is
Sure.
extremely premium to me.
So there's like cheap, which is half the price of a normal controller. There's
Right.
standard controller price, which is the $60, and it comes from the platform holder.
Right.
And then there's what I would call the premium controller level, which is like the Scuff / Xbox Elite 8-bit dough level of controllers.
Those 8-bit doughs are also, I don't know, I guess maybe 8-bit doughs on both sides of this spectrum.
Yeah,
because
8-bit dough
Yeah,
produces
they-
2.
8-bit dough has
run the
very
range.
cheap controllers as well,
That's
like
true.
$30.
That's true. So they probably count more like a Hori manufacturer. And then there's like the extra premium build your own controllers that you end up spending, $8 a button because they're made out of
Right.
clear plastic and you can change the colors and they're all hand built or whatever. And there's different brands of those. I don't know how well they function and I kind of don't care.
I mean, that's like any hobby, right? There's some version where it's like completely artisanal, homemade.
Bespoke.
You could get like
I would
build
love
your
to
own
see- okay.
keyboards, build your
if
own.
you are a
mice kind of things.
manufacturer if you're a manufacturer of artisanal controllers, hand sanded controllers,
I don't know about wood. I don't
Yes.
think you're getting wood.
if you have driftwood teak
No. Yeah,
controllers,
teak. I want teak and
driftwood,
oak. I
Yeah.
want oak.
yeah.
It's like the most unreasonable woods.
I'll
What's
take
the most unreasonable wood? Redwood? Redwood's very
it's
expensive.
yeah, it's expensive right now. I'll take cedar buttons because they have to be replaced a lot. So
No, sure, the buttons will wear through. Yeah.
they'll wear down if they're made out of wood. So you can make those out of cedar, but at least have the controller shell made out of oak. So English oak.
Sure.
That's a good movie reference. If you get it, podcast at wewergamers.com and I'll reply to you and say I'm glad you got my
thumbs
joke.
up emoji.
Yeah.
Good job.
I've been gone, so I haven't tried the new Elite controller yet. I will on Celeste probably tonight or this week. And then I will at least have all the information available to me about where I want to live in the controller market. I think this leads into our controller discussion this week, but I still like my Vantage. It's still plugged into my computer. I downloaded DS. I think I mentioned last week last time we talked about it, that I downloaded DS4 Windows to make this appear as a Xbox controller. So it just tricks the computer. You have to have it open, and then this is the A button, and that's the B button, and whatever.
I've been living that life with random. I used a PS3 controller for a long time, and so I had that as an Xbox controller for 6 years or something, and then it died, and now I have a PS4 controller.
I love this part of the controller.
He's pointing buttons. To the back rear touch buttons,
they're clicky.
Triggers or something.
They're little triggers. They sound like this. They're little mouse click triggers, right? And they're very snappy. Okay. Yeah, they use the same. I can probably pull one out here. They use the same.
There's
activate. You probably can't even see it. Probably. What's that?
Still an audio podcast.
Yeah, I know. So on the back of here is a little tiny dot. You see that dot? There's a little dot there. That is the button, and it is indented and pressed like a mouse button by a tiny little nub on the back of these things, and that's it. So I love that part of the controller. I love the feel of the controller. It's large enough. It's like a little bit bigger than the hands, but I've started to run into a different issue, which is this side button here on both sides.
At some kind of button that's not on a standard controller.
No, it's like a shoulder. Yeah, I would call it like well, these are
like off the shoulder.
Off the shoulder, like bumper buttons almost.
Yeah.
Right.
The bumper is the term for the front shoulder button on an Xbox controller, but he's talking about one to the left of that, to along the side of the controller.
So your normal Z and R triggers and all that sort of stuff on a normal controller, R and L triggers.
Right.
I grip, right? And I'm shooting, and I get distracted, and I panic, and I start pressing these buttons and accidentally spray paint people instead of shooting them.
Yeah, this sounds like a you need to relax your hands problem, not a the controller is built wrong problem.
It's not necessarily the controller.
It's not a it's a weird ergonomic place to put those.
Right. And so if ergonomically there's a better controller for me because of the way I grip it, there might be the chance that the Xbox One is. And I've also had a problem with this stick.
The left thumbstick.
Left thumbstick. Yeah. Sometimes stays down here. And then
does it drift when it does
nope,
it drift?
Just stays there.
That? It's just sitting there. Yep. That's weird.
Just stays there, and then I flick it, and then it works great for the rest of the day.
I've definitely noticed that my controller sometimes has a weird phantom input when I first plug it in.
Oh, interesting.
If I haven't touched the controller, it's just sitting there, and I've tabbed out of the screen. I tab back into the screen. Sometimes, then all of a sudden, once the game is active again, the character will just start walking away.
Oh no!
Meanwhile, the controller is just sitting there.
Oh no! I had a controller that would do something.
As soon as I do anything,
it stops.
It immediately stops.
What did your controller do, Michael?
I was gonna say I had one that did something similar, but it didn't. I guess it was older than JJ's because it didn't know to stop itself. If you plugged it in, if you were holding it with one hand and plugged it in with the other, occasionally I'd be sort of unconsciously putting pressure on one of the analog sticks, and it would set the position it would zero the position of the analog stick to wherever I was holding it when it got plugged in.
That's horrendous.
If it was off center,
that's horrendous.
You'd see either the camera or the cursor drift as soon as you booted something up. It was fixed by just unplugging it, sitting it on the table, unplugging it, and plugging it right back in would fix it. But
but
the fact that it didn't try to re-zero itself.
Zero should be zero. What the heck?
There's dead zones on all those sticks, though.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, that's true.
Zero is not zero.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This guy is really good. this guy's really good about 0 being 0. Like the dead zone on this is, I could almost turn it off on.
I bet you the dead zone on that is configurable actually, and you can probably just change it to whatever you like.
That's true.
Set to
and
0 currently.
I can also configure it within games to recognize the fact that this controller doesn't need compensation because it doesn't have a huge. That was one of the things I was talking about with the Hori sticks. Is the dead zone on those sticks is like noticeable in using them, and so like for fight games, I don't know. I really don't know.
For fighting games, you should really just be using a fighting stick, like
or a pro controller could work too. But the dead zone on those sticks is
or a D-pad. I mean,
or a D-pad. Well, I haven't run into your Celeste D-pad problem yet.
Apparently, you won't. I don't know. I could not, as a person who grew up playing Mario Brothers on the NES, I could not conscience the idea of playing a game that is essentially just a platformer like that one was, with only really, a jump button.
Yeah.
Without, why am I using this analog stick? Yes, it works, but why? I have this D-pad right here. It works with this too.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we didn't finish really kind of like going through some of the features of stuff. We had a few things that we hadn't finished talking about, especially for people out there that are like wondering why the heck, especially I am talking about non-standard controllers. Some of the things that are available to you that maybe you guys might have thoughts on, like I think are kind of cool options that maybe you think are like not necessary at all. And so I wanted to kind of like shout out some ideas of what custom controllers offer, and not custom, I guess, but premium controllers, or sometimes even add-ons to, if you like have the ability to take apart a first party controller, you can change stuff out on them if you're confident in doing that. So one of the things we didn't even talk about was like stick types, heights and concave versus convex. So like, I can take these off and just put them up to the screen so you know what I'm talking about. You can always change the height. So like this part could be taller.
The distance the analog stick
sticks up,
stands proud from the
stands. Right, yes, stands proud is a good idea. And then whether or not you want the top of it to push out on your thumb or your thumb push in on it, right? Like a concave or convex.
Definitely concave.
I think that's it's interesting because I think the only controller I used for a long period of time that was, which one? Convex?
Curved outward.
That PS3 controller.
Oh, that's right. The PS3 controllers
had convex ones.
Yeah.
But not because like I preferred it, more because I just had this one and I didn't bother to change. And then when I've started using the PS4 one, they have convex ones. Right. And it's like, oh, this is nice. This seems nice.
I think the industry has relatively
I think kind of everyone has realized that like, hey, it's probably, or if not convex, then flat with like a little ridge at the end or something, just so that your thumb is not like sliding off unintentionally just due to the shape of the stick.
Nintendos are still ever so slightly concave. They still have edges on them on the sides, but they're slightly concave. Supposedly more accurate concave in terms of like minute control.
I could believe that.
Convex better for wide variety of purposes, including speed, etc.
Yeah. Well, on a concave surface, you have that one point of contact on the top, and it's easier to make small movements as opposed to that one flat depression.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like standardized. I've tried all of the options available to this controller, which it came with, different heights and all that sort of stuff. And my hands feel like strange if I try to do different heights or different, like one concave, one convex, if you do your accuracy one, for sure. I liked the feel of everything being roughly the same and just letting my hands do the work. So,
I mean, that seems reasonable. I think this is also a topic in not just controllers, but like other sorts of peripherals. Like, we talked about keyboards and sort of like how you can get your favorite kind of your feeling of the switches and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure there's similar stuff. Some people like buttons that are a little springier. Some people like their sticks to be a little higher off
Oh yeah.
the face or whatever.
I mean,
So
so if you take these guys
makes
off,
sense,
you can even get as deep into a controller as what this is, right? Like what kind of resistance bands are inside of here. What is so I've opened up the controller now and I have the stick off and you can see the peg that controls the stick, and then in here are the rubber bands that hold the stick, the tension, all that sort of stuff is even configurable on certain things, or you can look up what each controller uses and decide you don't like that type of resistance, right?
Yeah.
There's digital resistance too. Okay, well, since we're all kind of in agreement on that one, Rumble was something that you mentioned last time we talked about controllers, Michael, and you were talking about weight on your Afterglow, I think, and how heavy it was. So, some manufacturers have thought of this. These are the Rumble packs, and they come out.
Oh,
and
interesting. Okay.
You can cut the weight of this controller in half by taking the Rumble out of it.
Sure. Yeah. The Rumble is the only thing in a controller that really has a motor, and therefore is actually weighty because motors are heavy.
Yeah.
So
it's not an ad.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's not an ad for them. I'm just saying, like, that is a thing that you can do for multiple manufacturers. Is just decide you either want Rumble or don't. You don't have to have one that takes it in and out, but that could help with weight or not. I don't know if it's a feature that you want in a controller, and so you're okay with the weight, or you don't care about, and so you don't want the weight. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think I generally prefer it be there so that I can experience whatever weird thing they want to do with it. I find it generally inoffensive, I guess. Like the shaking of my controller has added so much to this experience. No, no, not usually. But it is something that they had to program into the game. So I'm like, all right, I'll experience it here. Maybe there are some games where like I get sick of it because I have to keep doing the same thing 500 times. In which case, then I go into the game settings and turn the Rumble off if it has begun to bother me or wear my hands or something. I don't do that too frequently though. So it is also worth pointing out that most games these days, not all, but certainly a lot of big budget type games are going to have an option that lets you turn the vibration off.
It's also
if you are like annoyed by it shaking in your hands or you can't like control it well, usually that's an accessibility option. You can turn that stuff off.
I think it's also worth pointing out that most first party or large format games have a Rumble, if it makes sense. They will have Rumble in them. And I think a lot of people,
even if it does something completely dumb, like, when you get a critical hit, it shakes a little bit. It's completely forgettable, but like it's there for sure.
What are your Rumble thoughts there, Michael?
I like it. I mean, I like the weight, for the most part, the weight that it adds to the controller.
Okay. I mean, I like we said, the mouse and stuff like that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I like weighty items, including the controller, even if it makes my hands tired.
Yeah, definitely. I if it's too light, it bothers me. I feel like I'm gonna break it if I squeeze too hard.
Back to the NES days.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, if you guys haven't picked up like an old controller again, you should do it just to be like, oh, these things.
It's
super light. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're on the Rumble train, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I like when it's used subtly. So, in one of the more common ones, I think, is it's used as kind of a hotter or colder. If you're looking for something buried in a game, they'll use the very light Rumble as a means of you getting closer or farther away.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah.
So I like little touches like that rather than, the controller feels like it's going to shake out of my hands.
And I think each controller does Rumble differently. Like,
the principle behind it is the same. It's just because the motors, I'm sure, are in different places.
They're all designed differently. Well, I mean, the Joy-Cons have HD Rumble, right? And that's that's a different motor and a different orientation doing a different thing. So,
But yeah, because those Joy-Con ones are intended to provide a lot more fidelity, at least in terms of how the rumble works,
sure.
than your standard controller that just kind of shakes.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what the difference will end up being in multiple controllers on the Rumble. I noticed the PS and the Scuff are different. I remember when we had to plug in the Rumble pack.
N64, yeah.
Is
I
that
didn't have an N64, so I don't.
It was
that's
it
right,
was this
that's right.
giant
I
it was
have
this
one. I'll
giant
get it.
brick that you
Yeah, I'll
plugged
get it.
into the back.
I know
of
what the rumble pack is. I've seen it for sure. I remember always being the I, as the person who would go over to friends' houses to play GoldenEye or whatever, I never had the rumble pack. They only had one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was never plugged into my controller.
Here's the microphone. There's how big the Rumble pack is.
Yeah, he's holding up a Nintendo 64 rumble pack that is like approximately the size of the head of the microphone he's
Yeah, it's
using.
about half the size of a expensive AT2020 microphone. Like it's
You
not.
want to talk about adding weight to a controller?
Yeah, that thing is big.
Let
And
me
it had
tell
batteries
you,
in it, right?
there was yeah, you put batteries in it.
Yeah, so it's really heavy.
You put in two. Those look like
Double
double
A.
A's.
Yeah, probably.
Oh no, they're triple A's. But you could get aftermarket ones. I have another one that's even bigger. It's an aftermarket one. It takes this. So it takes the Rumble pack. I'm going to try and describe it without saying this and that. So it takes the Rumble pack, and off the bottom of the Rumble pack comes another open serial port, and then you can plug your memory card into the serial port, and there's a little switch on the back of the aftermarket Rumble pack because you can't run the memory card or the Rumble pack
True.
at the
You'd have
same
to swap.
time. You have to swap between the two. So it had a switch. So you're like, oh, cool. I'm not saving. Back to the Rumble. Oh, I gotta save. Back to the memory card. And
So you could like flip the dip switch.
so
tell
then,
Nintendo what it is.
so then you've got a memory card sticking out of an even bigger one of these. It was the size of the control and the weight of so the controller starts to tip
Tilting forward
away from
yeah.
you. Yeah, it's like
Holding it
completely
like that.
unweighted
believe
against
it.
your hands.
Like
Like
you're gonna give yourself like wrist RT. What's the like repetitive stress or something?
Oh,
trying
there
to
you
hold
go,
that
yeah,
because
yeah.
your wrists are not meant to flex in that forward direction.
modern controllers being very well balanced and the N64 controller being extremely silly to try and hold permanently.
What a thing, man.
That was a thing. Hey, I play on my computer wired and on consoles wireless. Thoughts?
I feel like I'll let Michael go first. I think I have a nuanced opinion.
I play wired at my computer and wireless on the console, but I think it's not really a conscious choice where the console comes in because
It's what they offer.
It's kind of the default now for the controllers to be wireless compared to when controllers used to be wired and that was the only thing that you could do.
So I made the mistake the first time that I had the option. I bought Wavebirds for the GameCube and had slight latency compared to people who were using wired ones in Smash.
Sure, yeah,
You
that
know?
hard connection.
Yeah. They were pretty good, honestly. Like in terms of controllers with latency, they might still be some of the best technology that existed for that because they were so simple at the time and the console was so simple that they could at least reduce the lag a little bit, I think. I don't know. So since then, obviously the options, once those went away, once GameCube ended, was that like everyone's wireless. You don't get a choice unless you go aftermarket, and even then,
Right.
you might just be using the USB to connect the controller to get it connect wirelessly to a console. But on my PC, I originally with a 360 controller, I got one of those wireless dongles
The dongle
that you had to have for the 360 controller to run it wireless.
Yep.
Mhm.
Because my PC was across a room and I always kind of felt the latency in it a little bit, not enough to ever worry about it. But now that I play with this controller wired, I notice how much quicker it is than that old 360 controller. So I'm thinking I'll end up running the Elite 2 wired as well in the PC. Anyway,
I think
I'm waiting to hear this nuanced opinion he's been working on this whole time.
Oh, I don't know about working, but so because of like the setup that I'm in, my controllers for the PC have almost always been wired. For either because the computer didn't have wireless capabilities, like there just wasn't Bluetooth on my motherboard for like a really long time.
Who has Bluetooth on their motherboard that builds a PC?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I don't know. Why would you pay for that feature? It doesn't seem useful to me. There's nothing I would want to connect Bluetooth directly to the motherboard, right? You can buy the dongle if you need it.
Yeah, I love my wired headphones. I love my wired keyboard. I don't want to think about whether or not I missed a click.
So like I use I'm holding up a wired mouse. I'm using a wired mouse. I have wired everything at the PC. So it only made sense that I would also be using a wired controller. So I've never bothered to try to figure out how to get wireless working on my PC because this was just the sensible thing to do. Now for the consoles, it was typically, I mean, I'd be using them wireless frequently because again, it was just sort of how it was, right?
Right.
You know, the NES didn't have an option for wireless. You use the wires.
It does now.
The SNES does now. You're right. That's true. There are wireless ones.
8-bit though.
8-bit Do makes them, I believe.
At least them. It's probably other people.
Yeah, totally. You're almost certainly right about that. But so then I never had a GameCube. I never had an N64. And so that was kind of like the game
was wired only.
Okay, it was. All right, I didn't remember when they first started doing wireless stuff, but I remember the GameCube they did.
I wonder if somebody
right?
makes a wireless N64. I'm looking this up while you're going. Go for it.
They do now for sure.
I think I've looked it up before, and they do.
They must.
I'm sure they do now, right? Someone will buy that.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
They call it the Admiral. That's a great name.
So I skipped the GameCube. So I never did that stuff wireless. I did PS2. And PS2, I don't remember having wireless controllers.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it did. And so I didn't end up with wireless controllers until the PS3 when they started having them. But then when I first started, I left the cord plugged in because I didn't have a charging station for them. And so you had to charge them by plugging them in.
Yep.
And I got used to that for a while. And then I eventually got a charging station. And so then I started using them wirelessly. It's like, this is pretty nice. Huh. And now I play with them wireless most of the time, and that I just plug them in when I am done. So like I still have the cord connected to the front of all my consoles, so that I can plug the cord or the controller in when I'm done, so that it charges. Because I only really have the console on when I'm going to play. I don't really have it on other times.
Do you think they build games to accommodate, especially on console, for the fact that their controllers are wireless?
1000% yes.
Yeah.
So you can't miss the click or whatever because,
They also include the fact that your TV probably has an LCD screen and has latency built into that,
which
is noticeable. It's noticeable when you compare it to video games that didn't used to account for that. Back in like the PlayStation 1 and older N64 and even older eras, because CRTs do not have that latency, and it is extremely noticeable if you try to go play like old rhythm games. Like I'm going to specifically name
on a wireless controller on an LCD screen.
Parappa the Rapper, the first game on PS1, is almost impossible to beat on a modern TV with a wireless controller. It's just the inputs are too fast. You will not know by the time it is displayed on your screen. You have to have anticipated it. Otherwise, it won't. Otherwise, you'll be too late.
Yeah, you have to know everything, right? And so
you would have to memorize the song by losing, because there's no other way to see what you were supposed to do, right? And memorize all the patterns, and then know which patterns are coming up next in the song, so that you can be ready with them on the beat. Because even by the time you're hearing it, you probably need to be pressing it. And that delay is too long for you to wait to see it.
No.
Yeah, that game is really hard. They should remake that game and adjust all that stupid latency because that game is sweet and those songs are rad. That's my point.
Bring Parappa the Rapper to Switch.
Bring Chop Chop, Master Onion, and the other guys back.
Yeah.
Sure, put them on Switch. It's a PlayStation brand, but who cares?
Hey,
We're all
They're on
about
PC.
crossplay these days.
it's all about crossplay. Hey,
Hey, put it on PC. Sony's putting
Put it on
stuff on
PC.
PC these days.
Yeah, there you go.
one. This looks great, Michael. Thank you for linking a wooden Xbox controller.
I knew it had to exist.
But of course it does.
But of
What?
course, it looks like a no, it might be a standard. Anyway, I linked in the chat. Look what they did when they decided to make wireless N64 controllers. They moved all the buttons around so that they
They made
actually
it-
make sense.
Yeah, they made it look like a modern style controller.
I
So
think
you-
this is plastic wood grain though. I don't think it's real wood.
Oh, that's too bad.
Anyway, I'm sure it still exists. 100% has to.
But look at this controller, this one that I linked. I'm not going to advertise because I don't know if it's any good.
So are you going to link it then? Because
I did link it. It's above Michael's link.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong.
It's okay.
Click the wrong link. My bad.
It's okay. It uses.
Oh, so
See what they did? They turned it into a modern controller by moving the C buttons over and moving the stick where it should be and everything else.
Smart.
I'm gonna have to get one of these.
This looks like a controller a person could use, unlike the N64 controller.
The C buttons are now on the right, where the A, B, X, and Y would be now, or whatever versions you want to say. And then
Where's
the
the
A, B
picture?
buttons are below them, where the right thumbstick would be. So it's not that hard to get to.
They
D-pad
need a picture
and
showing. They need a
joystick on the
picture
left.
showing the shoulders. I can't tell what the shoulder buttons look like from.
oh
above.
yeah, they don't really. There's ones where they're standing up. There's four buttons. There's 2 on the left and probably 2 on the right. Although there would only
That's-
be 3 technically, so it's probably 1 on the left, 2 on the left, and 1 on the
Yeah.
right.
One on the right, yeah.
That-
Left,
'cause
right,
that
and
would-
Z.
Right. That would fit with what an N64 would have. Interesting.
Yeah, but they look like normal shoulder double buttons, like the
Mhm.
back of a PS controller or whatever. I am gonna bookmark this and research anybody that makes a good one because that looks pretty cool. Oh, they make a wired one too. Of course they do.
Oh, sure. If you're gonna make a wireless one, the wired one is cheaper. So why
Oh,
not
with a
make it?
rumble pack. Okay, I found a better picture here. With a rumble pack port on the wired one. And 4 buttons here. With the rumble pack port. I love it.
Gotta have the.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. So it does show it. Interesting.
Yeah, two
So
Z
you do-
two Z buttons. They're the same button.
Yeah.
It's just one on each side.
Yeah. Yep. And then it has the fat old rumble pack port at the bottom down there.
Oh,
Hilarious.
man. I'm up. Oh my goodness. Oh my
I don't
goodness. I found my new silly thing to spend money on.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, what if instead of this you bought a game and played it instead of buying an extra controller?
I still have an N64. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You better be careful. Does this actually connect to an N64? Also?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
or
good
just
point.
a computer.
They may just be built to connect to
That's a
PCs.
good point. Compatible with Rumble and memory packs. So it's probably compatible with an N64.
It doesn't mean that.
That's true. Good point.
So, just be careful. Don't sell yourself a bill of goods that's not listed.
What review? Joystick still as sloppy as an old controller.
10 of 10. Done.
So it still has the feel.
Yeah, basically huge dead zones. Good. Got it. Perfect Dark is impossible to play with this controller. Let me tell you, Perfect Dark is impossible to play at all with an old controller.
It is in 64 input, Andy.
Awesome. I will I'm bookmarking.
I think for folks that want to play Perfect Dark, they should go find the Xbox 360 version.
Yes,
and play
go
that,
buy the
probably.
port.
That's probably
That is a very good port of a very good game.
probably the only useful way to play that game.
The Farsight gun actually becomes extremely broken because you control it with a 360 controller.
yeah,
and
a
pinpoint
thumbstick that can
accurate.
actually aim, unlike
Yeah.
the ones in the N64.
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly.
just swam around, pointing generally somewhere.
Oh my god, we're gonna run out of time again. We're gonna have to do this a third time. That's
Are we?
impossible.
What else is there to talk about? I don't know.
Well, so games is what we haven't talked about, and you called me out earlier for switching to a controller for playing Call of Duty. One of the reasons is because controllers are so ubiquitous now, but they're not always as accurate as like a keyboard and mouse, right? That's the big thing. Oh, PC is the better place to play a shooter because you can pinpoint accurate with your mouse and all that sort of stuff. Aim assist, JJ.
Yeah, so that's not actually a controller thing. That's a software thing.
That's a software thing.
There's no discussion to have. Done. QED, son. No discussion about controllers here. It's discussion about software.
So
Don't have time for discussions about software.
The software picks up the controller, and all of a sudden, in some of those games, you're better off than a keyboard player, especially in Call of Duty.
I will argue that that's still not true, but you are not better off. It provides you with aim assist, right? So you are hitting them, but a skilled player is going to headshot you, whereas a skilled PC player, because they have the fine control, will always be headshotting you. Whereas the aim assist doesn't guarantee you're getting a headshot, right? It just guarantees you're hitting them.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't guarantee. Anyway, it makes the hit easier to get, but you don't want the hit, you want the kill. And that's the thing that changes when you have slightly more accuracy.
But for a game I don't play that much and I'm not that accurate at,
right.
I'd rather get
for we were gamers here.
For the we were gamers of the crew, maybe find out what games have good aim assist and use your controller during
all of them these days. I would argue probably that all of them have.
I think that most of them are built in.
Decent aim assist these days.
Yeah, they're built
because
in on
all
the
of these
console,
shooters
too.
are coming to consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Every console first-person shooter has aim assist, and probably a lot of third-person and other types of games have it as well. And they just don't advertise it because they don't need to. You kind of expect a little bit of... I mean, there's just less movement range from a mouse to a joystick. There just isn't as much place to move your hand around to create input. So there's just less for them to interpret. So they have to help you a little bit somehow. Otherwise, you're going to be holding the stick to the side of the screen to drag a little circle up across the field of view for an hour. And meanwhile, you got bored and turned the game off 20 minutes ago.
Or you're always shooting behind the person because the stick just can't keep up.
You know, or your character is slowly turning in a circle for an hour and meanwhile was killed 7 times. Right.
Yeah. So what games, not jokingly, because obviously I did make that decision for playing Warzone, was like, I want to have a good time, and the controller gives me a good time more than like, I'm really bad at playing PC, and unless I play this a lot, I'm going to still be bad at playing this. Versus when we played Halo, I didn't really care how good I was. I enjoyed playing it on the mouse and keyboard. Halo is a much different game than Call of Duty in terms of its performance and its aim and everything else like that. And I enjoyed playing that with a mouse and keyboard. But you had mentioned you wanted to talk about the games that people play with making the choice, right?
So I think for myself, it has typically boiled down to some level of what was the intent when they were designing the game. Right. So if I play a game like Quake or Doom, original Doom, not like 2016 Doom.
Yeah.
Those games were designed for PC input. So I will be playing them with PC input because that's what they were designed to do. It also means I'm terrible at those games because they require really good mouse accuracy. Although Doom,
me on
less
some Unreal Tournament, baby.
Yeah, there you go. I want that shotgun. That shotgun's really good.
I was sniped. Just sniped from the top.
I just got to teleport behind him. Use the shotgun. Anyway, so that stuff. So I tend to think about it that way, right? What is the platform that they are probably developing this the most for? It's like for these days, almost everything is consoles.
Console. Yeah.
100%. And so then it makes sense to play everything with a controller because that's what it's being tested with the most.
Okay.
And especially for games that maybe originated on consoles and only later came to PC, stuff like Dark Souls and a lot of platformers where these games only came out on consoles to start with, they weren't thinking about keyboard controls. And maybe they implement them, but now they had to like go back and think about how to do keyboard controls. Well, you should just do the scheme that they came up with originally, which is sort of how they wanted you to play it.
There were a lot of people
that leads to questions, right? Like, how should I play this game based on what I think is there? Because it's not like, because they don't care. They just want you to use whatever you want. Like the developers are just like, here's what we support. Do what works for you. But then now I'm playing this game with myself of like, is this the way I want to play this game based on what they're doing over here or something? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
am I in my own head about this? Does no one else do this?
No, I mean, so there was a huge discussion about what you're talking about when Skyrim came out, and the people said, you play it with a mouse and keyboard, it's more fun, but make sure to you could change some of the settings so that they were like the inventory was still done with the controller inventory instead of going to the PC inventory, because the controller inventory was better, but you could still control that with a mouse and keyboard. It was like, yeah, I kind of get it. I don't think that I go as deeply as you do. If I'm going to play it on the computer, unless it's a platformer, I'm generally going to hit the mouse and keyboard first and try it that way. And if I don't like it, I'll switch.
So, like, did you try to play that Jedi game with a mouse and keyboard?
I did, and I didn't like it, and I switched over.
Yeah, that sounds like it probably would have been horrible.
Yeah, it was not good.
Like, I don't think, if you try to ever play a game like that, don't even pick up the keyboard. Just go straight to the controller.
Yeah, like those kinds of games.
Those kinds of games, as far as I can tell, anyway, I've never found one that has good keyboard controls.
Michael?
I think it kind of depends. There are still a few things that have a little more of a retro feel. Loop Hero, Baba Is You come to mind. I like to play with mouse and keyboard. The sort of that grid style lends itself better, I think, at least just in my head, to arrow keys as opposed to using like a D-pad.
I think the games with a ton of menus in general, not that Baba Is You has a ton of menus, but like stuff like Darkest Dungeon or like old school RPGs where there's just like 500 boxes all over the screen all the time. That kind of stuff is where I want a keyboard, because I want a mouse so that I can
definitely. Or if
you're and drag it around.
If you're playing a game that has inventory slots like Diablo, where you can assign stuff to a bunch of different keys, potions and stuff.
Yeah,
that kind of thing doesn't translate real well to a controller, right? You can individually
required.
I was going to say you can individually,
required intricate menuing, right? Like a Civ 6. So what I want people to do is email us with their games. That's what I want people to do. Podcast at wewergamers.com.
I think that would actually be an interesting discussion topic for podcast at wewergamers.com, to send us the games that you play a certain way, and we can talk about ones we play certain ways. That would be fun.
All right.
We will have a part 3 if you, the listener, demand it.
Yeah, we could talk about mapping. We didn't get to mapping either, if people do that. So
yeah.
Until then,
find us on the internet at We Were Gamers everywhere.
Go to all the places. Yeah. Make fun of me for buying too many lightsabers, and then I'll go sit with my friends on Carbon Scoring and make fun of you for making fun of us.
But I was going to ask you, did you change the crystal color? Let's see it. You got to turn the light off. Yeah.
You hear the sound?
Yeah, I do.
It's so different.
It is, yeah.
I like the yellow. It's nice.
Yeah, it's funny. It comes through on the screen. It comes through as almost white.
The further away it gets, the less color you get.
Yeah.
Maybe with the light on.
With the light on, it might totally wash it out. Yeah, now it looks almost white.
So they have a white.
Yeah.
They have a white. Oh, and then hold on. You got to see this ridiculousness real quick, and then you should go. But so for this one, because they wanted to make it movie accurate for the Luke one.
Yeah.
His saber is tiny in the middle.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so in the box underneath it, they hid, and I knew this before I bought it. They hid another piece, so you can unscrew this one
For non-display time.
for I'm gonna go be Luke Skywalker tonight time. And then this one goes in a little bit differently. I don't know why. This doesn't feel like it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I can hear it.
It's a different sound entirely, huh?
Yeah, it is.
I like the green sound a lot too. But I chose blue on the other one because I thought I would probably get this. You know? So I knew I'd have a green. Because you can't change this one.
Right, yeah, that one's just fixed because they want it to be accurate.
It feels good. It's not nearly as heavy as a Savi's saber.
That doesn't surprise me.
But it's still metal and it feels good.
Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Go to the store, man.
Alrighty, well, this was another great episode of The Carb Locker.
Well, thanks for tuning in to the sub pod about chewing up the carbs on the Carb Locker. We got to come up with some better. I don't think the Carb Locker got a lot of fans on this go.
We'll find out when we have more than just JJ as a sample size.
If you loved the Carb Locker, email us podcast